So we are stuck, and Ukraine is probably going to be sacrificed. The Russian people are going to prolong their suffering. I don't think sanctions are going, although these are more comprehensive and far-reaching sanctions than I have ever seen in my career, they are not going to change Mr. Putin's behavior, and let me explain why. Now, I don't pretend to be able to read Mr. Putin's mind, but I am pretty sure that whatever his original intentions were at the beginning of the war, when he invaded Ukraine, they have changed, because things have not gone as smoothly as he may have anticipated. He thought it would be a quick victory, but the Western or the world reaction will be minimal, as it was when he invaded Georgia, as it was when he annexed Crimea, and so on. But of course, you can see it is not so. The Ukrainians are resisting much more fiercely. The Russian army incompetencies have been exposed. I mean, if your armor runs out of petrol, or fuel, something is wrong. Okay, so he has not got a swift victory. The incompetence of his military has been exposed. And that poses a problem for Putin that is much larger than Ukraine. Because Putin's claim to be able, his right to rule, his legitimacy, rests on the claim that he has restored Russian strength and he has restored people's respect for Russian strength. But whether real or perception, this has all crumbled in the ruins of the war in Ukraine. So the problem for him now is a bigger one than Ukraine. He wanted a swift victory. Being denied a swift victory, he has to have a decisive victory and a total victory. That's why he has ignored, President Zelensky has made clear, actually he made clear earlier in the war that he's made clear again that he has given up the idea of joining NATO, right? He's even willing to consider some kind of neutrality, but the war continues. Because it is impossible for Putin to compromise, I think, without appearing weak. And the one thing he cannot do is to appear weak. Why do I tell you all this? No, sanctions are not going to change his behavior, because it's not. But sanctions are a strong and concrete expression of disapproval, which will hurt Russia. Unfortunately, it will hurt the Russian people more than it will hurt Putin and his immediate circle. But that should, I hope, cause Russians to reconsider their support for Putin. Putin was actually quite popular with the people in Singapore we will call the Abengs and the Aliens, who have a very straightforward idea of patriotism and nationalism. And that's why he's so desperately trying to control the narrative in Russia. But you're in this business, in the 21st century, in the internet age, you cannot control this narrative completely. It will leak through, right? And so I think sanctions are not going to change behavior, but it's a strong expression of disapproval that will hurt Russia. Russia is going to be extremely isolated. So I say, whatever his original intentions, he now needs a decisive victory and total victory. He cannot compromise without appearing weak, and he's been offered compromises, and the war continues. Unfortunately, I don't think the war will spread because of nuclear deterrence, but unfortunately, the price of it not spreading is Ukraine. They are fighting heroically, and they will be given support, political support, diplomatic support, weapons support, but it's clear that NATO is not going to intervene directly because it's just too dangerous. You don't want a nuclear war, right? I think in the end, Russia will occupy Ukraine. I'm not sure whether they'll put a puppet government in Kiev or they will annex it outright, but it doesn't really matter because the bitterness that the war has left will mean that they cannot take Ukrainian stability for granted. there will have to be an army of occupation. There will be some kind of insurgency. It won't go anywhere, right? But they can't take, the Russians can't take stability for granted. They will have to be in occupation for the foreseeable future. As long as they are in occupation, Europe, the West, all of us will continue to cohere. The sanctions will continue to be in place, and that's where we are. I don't think not in the immediate future. I think as long as Mr. Putin is in power, it will continue. I don't see any sign of fracture in his immediate circle, because they're all complicit too. If he goes, they go, right? So I'm afraid we are stuck like this. Russian people, the best part of them, are leaving Russia. But and that is not a good thing for any country when your intelligentsia decide to leave. I can tell you, I have many Russian friends. I have Ukrainian friends too, and I've been in contact with them over internet. I'm not going to mention names for obvious reasons. I got one particularly, and it's not the only one, heart-rending PM message. And he is quite a senior person, not in their MFA, but in their government. And the reply, is quite heartrending. The reply was, this was about in the first week of the war. And he said, Bilahari, for the last 5 days, I have been physically ill. It is very hard to feel ashamed of your own country. He didn't feel like that. He didn't during the war in Georgia. He didn't say anything like that during the annexation of Crimea. But this is, I think, a bit too much. But I think, some people are hoping there will be some kind of internal revolt. But we are far from that. The pain has to be much more acute before his own immediate circle breaks. And it can only be a palace coup, a Kremlin coup, because I don't think these popular demonstrations on the street is going to change anything. Because if necessary, he'll crush them too. Well, I think that, as I said, it's not going to, the point is not to end conflict, because it won't. The point is to signal to any other person who may have similar ideas about, in other regions, that there will be immense costs. Right? And the costs are not just through sanctions. Look, Mr. Putin has miraculously done something that successive American presidents since Bill Clinton have failed to do. He has got Europe to take their defense seriously. Right? He has reinvigorated the whole idea of the West, which was in some danger of dissipating completely after the Cold War. And he has brought home vividly to everybody that regional balances are important. And that there is no balance without the US being some component of it. It also has brought home to a lot of people the importance of military balances. Including nuclear balances. I mean, it's politically incorrect to say this, but Ukraine had the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world. They gave it up for a piece of paper called the Budapest Memorandum, and what's it worth? If they had nuclear weapons, you think they'll be in this pickle? No, of course not. So a lot of people around the world will be seeing this. And I think, that's a new reality we have also got to face. Why we did it, I think I cannot understand why people cannot understand. I would think that if you're a small country, to do something that, you would not think that, the idea that if if I'm bigger than you, I don't like your face, I can go and rearrange it by force, can be a good one to a small country, and there should be costs to anybody who tries to do that, right? How is that so difficult to understand? I think there is actually a deliberate disinformation campaign to propagate the idea. This whole idea, it comes out and again, small countries, keep quiet, lay low, right? But we are not, don't take sides. But the only side we are taking is our own side, because this is in our own interest. How is that so difficult to understand? And if you are not prepared to defend your own interests, then, whatever happens to you, you deserve it, Right, but I think this time is different, okay? I would think that younger Singaporeans understand this better than some people my age. Okay, for whatever reason, I don't know. But, you know, it seems to me, that's impressionistically. Mind you, I think Singaporeans should know also, this is not a soccer game where, you know, we are fans of one side or the other. We are acting in our own interest. We should keep that firmly in mind, all right? Okay? Especially those people who are, you know, apparently calling the Ukrainian embassy wanting to go and fight, right? Right? It's illegal, as MHA has reminded us, and they should not do it, and I don't approve of it, but that to me is a better response than saying that we should lay low, hide under the table, you know, and do nothing. It's the wrong thing to do, but you know, but it's a better instinctive response than, you know, oh, please, let's not get involved, you know. If your pioneer generation had that attitude, we won't be having this conversation today. I don't think the cost will be overly high. Russia is not a very significant economic partner to us. Okay, Changi International has some airport investments. There are some Singapore businesses who have things here and there, but it's not going to kill us. It's not going to kill us. Putin has been grumbling about nationalizing those Western things. Maybe they'll nationalize the airports, right? But there is a reason they asked us to go and help run the airports in the first place, because we don't know how to run airports. So, okay, there'll be a cost to them too, you know. But it's not a good situation for anybody, but, you know, let's keep our eye on the ball. How did this arise? Who invaded whom?